What is up, bros, and welcome to the All Bros podcast. I am Jonathan.
And I'm Caleb.
And we are a couple of aspiring filmmakers that love to watch and critique movies, but also enjoy a lot of bit of the nerd life. This week on the podcast, we'll be skipping over Funko Focus and 4K Spotlight. Nothing caught our eye with Funko, and 4K is really just a bunch of re-releases. If you guys really want to know, it's The Outsiders and The Addams Family, both coming to 4K. The 1990 live action Addams Family movie. So we'll be skipping over those two, and then we'll be just straight up jumping into Through the Wall, which will be we'll be covering a I've heard it's the second trailer, but I've also heard it's a TV spot, so I don't know. Technically, we'll just be covering 2 TV spots of a show coming out, as well as a trailer for a movie coming out next month. Or when does this movie come out?
That is an excellent question. I have
Let's hope
no
we get
idea.
an excellent answer.
Yeah, it is coming out January 28th, 2022.
So it doesn't come out till next year. But anyway, so we'll be talking about those, and then we will be jumping into our headliner of the evening, which will be our breakdown of M. Night Shyamalan's movie Old.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, what do you say we get started, Caleb?
Say let's do it.
Hey guys, I'm Crash, host of the podcast Crash and Taz's Movie Cellar. On our show, me and my co-host pick a new movie each week and rate each movie on a few categories that we think are important to making a great movie. After we rate the movie, it gets a final rating, and that lands it somewhere on our cellar scale, where it will get labeled as either a well, premium, or a top shelf film. Catch us on platforms like Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and more. And don't forget to follow us on social media. On Instagram as Crash and Taz's Movie Cellar. It's Crash, the letter N, Taz Movie Cellar, with underscores in between each word. And on Facebook, Crash and Taz Movie Cellar, where you as a listener can suggest movies for us to rate, and also give us some constructive criticism to make the show more entertaining. Overall, don't forget to follow or subscribe, and rate and review us, and get ready for an entertaining show with us. See you guys then.
All right, so I just want to point something out really quickly. You can put podcasts on Amazon Music?
Yeah, we're on Amazon.
Oh, we are? Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah,
Wow.
If you have an Alexa or something like that, you can say, Alexa, turn on the All Bros podcast.
That's so bitchin'.
Yeah,
How did I not know this?
I don't know if it still currently works, because we switched over to Podbean, but last time I checked, we were still on Amazon Music, so it should work.
Dope. That's pretty freaking cool. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, moving into our Through the Wall segment, because like I said, we're skipping over Funko Focus and 4K Spotlight. We got 2 TV spots. I'm gonna stick with calling them two TV spots for Hawkeye to talk about. And oh my god, I'm so hyped for this freaking show. I still can't believe that my favorite superhero is finally getting his moment in the spotlight.
I know, right?
Finally, dude. His own TV show.
How much? I'm assuming with how much screen time he's going to get, he's going to be the main focus of this show, and maybe share it a little bit with Kate. But will he be? I want to know how much extra screen time, those additional 6 hours, are going to give him in the whole of the MCU, because that will put him above Hulk for sure. If he's not already above Hulk, that I'm willing to bet it'd put him above Widow too.
Yeah, shit, I didn't think about that.
I want to see, I'm gonna see if someone has a chart of.
I'm pretty sure people have done that. I've seen it before.
All right, let's see here. Oh, be cool if it wasn't super freaking tiny. Yeah, so I'm not sure where. Yeah, I'm not 100% certain where this puts. Jeez. Okay, I'm not sure where this chart is like accurate on like putting him like
Okay.
to what movie it's updated to, but it has Tony Stark at 4 hours and 55 minutes.
Holy shit.
So maybe that's like on screen time.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But Hawkeye is at 33 minutes total.
That's it?
Yeah, like I said, that's what they have him at. So that's 33 minutes total. So plus those 6 hours, that puts him well above Iron Man. And I'm assuming he's not going to be on it for the full 6 hours. Like, he's not going to be on screen.
Yeah.
So it probably put him
I
in line with, like, at least Captain America.
I think so, because honestly, I feel that they're probably going to, like, evenly split it between Clint and Kate, and I'm totally okay with that. But, holy shit, I didn't know Tony Stark had that much. God damn. I mean, makes sense. He is, freaking RDJ.
Yeah, right.
But so with these trailers, you don't really get a lot. It's kind of like the same stuff that we've seen in the trailer with a couple of new items. I just have a couple that I want to point out with. The one opening for one of them is freaking Kate in a freaking elevator talking to this elderly woman, and she's just like, "Can I tell you a secret? I'm working with an Avenger." And then, like, honestly, that would be like a really good prelude into the next TV spot, because the next one has I'm assuming this is Kate's mom. I think her name's Eleanor Bishop.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So she's talking to both Kate and Clint, and she's just like, "So Kate's helping you with an Avengers level threat?" And Kate's just like, "Yeah, he's my partner." And Clint's just like, "Yeah, that's kind of a stretch." But like I said, it's like most of the stuff that we've seen in the first trailer, with like some extra added stuff. Like Clint points out, hey, if you want to be a superhero, there's a lot of stuff involved, especially a lot with danger. And she's just like, "Yeah, but you get like cool costumes and, trick arrows." And I'm just like, you know what? She's got a point there. And one of the coolest freaking shots is when, I'm assuming, Clint's driving and they're on a freeway, and freaking Kate is trying to freaking nail one of the guys in this one car, and she's just like kind of like struggling a little bit just to get it perfect, her arrow perfectly aligned. It's just such a cool shot. And then there's one where they both freaking like swing down from a building and like fall over a freaking train. Not fall over a train. Kind of like they graze over it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. It just like I said, you don't really get like a lot of new story details, but you get such really cool that I feel they were definitely worth talking about. It just gets you more hyped for this show. And the fact that we're getting the first 2 episodes on November 24th is amazing. And I like it. It absolutely makes sense when you see when the final episode is supposed to premiere. I think it's like December 22nd. So if they were to have just released one episode each week, it wouldn't have finished till the 29th, and that kind of wouldn't have made sense, considering that this is, based around Christmas time. So all I can say is I'm so freaking stoked for the show. It just needs to be here already.
Oh my gosh, it looks like it's so much freaking fun.
Like, ever since the MCU entered the show territory on Disney Plus, WandaVision has still been my favorite. I loved WandaVision. But I think Hawkeye might take the spot.
Dude, we both know it's going to, whether it's like a shitty show or not.
You know what? Fair enough. Yeah, it's definitely going to take the spot. Because as everyone knows, I'm a Hawkeye whore, and anything Hawkeye, I'm going to watch till I can't watch it no more. I have a feeling I'm going to be watching these first 2 episodes until the next week, like 5 times each, just to catch every single little detail that I can. That's how I'm going to be with this show, because the fact that they're basing this on Matt Fraction's comic, which I unfortunately haven't finished. I need to finish it because I've heard it's such an amazing Hawkeye story. So I really just need to sit down and finish that damn thing. But just the fact that the baseline of the show is based around that, they're kind of adding their like couple new things to it. I just feel that the show is going to be very special. And I just can't wait for it to premiere. Can November 24th be here already? Gosh damn it.
Yeah, dude, I am so freaking pumped. Like, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. Like, I don't think that there's been a miss yet when it comes to these shows.
No, I would definitely agree. There has been some that I'm just like, okay, like I didn't like it as much as the last one, but I haven't hated any of the MCU shows so far.
Yeah, same here. I think the biggest one for me that was like I wouldn't consider it like a total miss, but that I wouldn't put on the same level as everyone else would be the What If. And I loved the What If series so much. But
I can absolutely agree with you.
I would have almost preferred individual stories rather than one overarching.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I did not see that coming at all with that ending. That how the Watcher was just going to take a bunch of these Marvel characters from these different realities and make them the defenders of the universe.
Or what do they call them? The Guardians of the Multiverse.
That's what it was. Sorry. I couldn't remember if he said the Defenders or the Guardians, because I know it wasn't the Avengers.
Yeah. But I'm hoping for good things. I think, one, you've got a killer storyline to follow, and on top of that, you got killer actors. Like, you're gonna have to try really hard to screw this up.
Seriously, like ever since the first Avengers, as the MCU has gone along, Jeremy Renner has been able to showcase how he can do the sarcasm when it comes to Clint Barton, because we all know Clint Barton is a sarcastic asshole, but that's why we love him. And so I think that this show is going to be able to really let him push his comedic chops and like fully showcase how he was perfectly picked to play Clint Barton / Hawkeye. I mean, we all know he was, but I feel, at least I know he is. But I think this show is going to be able to really showcase that he was, and Haley Steinfeld has shown how great she is with comedy. The Edge of 17 has become one of my favorite films I've ever seen.
Yeah, such a good movie. If you guys haven't seen it, we highly recommend that one.
See, it is one of the best coming of age stories, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. I'm assuming you're at a 10 with this. Like, I don't think that's any question.
No, not one bit.
Yeah, I'm about a 9.
You son of a bitch.
I'm not.
I'm kidding, bro. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm sitting about a 9, just to be a contrarian, I guess.
I freaking knew it.
No, I'm really excited for this series. I don't know what it's got me. I think it's with just these these like the TV spot or whatever, it's just, I don't know, like I feel like it's just giving away stuff in the show. Like I'm hoping a lot of the stuff that we see in the show is in those first couple episodes, because I don't want to know where this story ends or where it's going at all. Like I want to be surprised when I go into it.
Same.
So yeah, I'm sitting about a 9.
Okay, I like it. I'll deal with it. I'll accept it. All right, so oh my gosh, sorry, I forgot that I was leading this episode.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, let's do it.
Come on, Rose.
You have one job.
All right, moving on to our second through the wall bit. We got the second trailer for Morbius, which will be coming in January. So I will fully admit, I know I think I already admitted this with the first trailer. I know jack shit about Morbius.
Same here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, okay, that's not necessarily true. The only things that I know about Morbius come from the 90s Spider-Man show.
See, I don't even remember Morbius from the 90s show.
It's because he was a lot different.
Okay.
He did have that same look, like really long black hair, kind of had that vampiric look about him, but instead of him being obsessed with blood and being like that kind of like vampire, he wanted plasma. And instead of biting people, he would absorb the plasma through their hand or through his hands.
That's Morbius from the 90s show. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, now I remember him.
So that's like, I'm assuming it's a completely inaccurate representation, because Morbius is like how they're representing him in this show, where it's more like vampiric and he wants blood.
Yeah, they probably didn't want to put that in a like rated G kids show.
Yeah.
Well, no, that show kind of got dark sometimes.
Dude, it didn't. Apparently, and I had like a really hard time believing this. Apparently, throughout the entire 90s Spider-Man show, Spider-Man never threw a punch at anyone.
What?
Yeah. Apparently, they did not want to promote violence that way, so Spider-Man never punched people. And I was like, nah, that's bullshit. Like, I remember him punching people like left and right, and yeah, apparently he didn't.
So he literally just fought with his webbing. That's it.
Yeah, with his webbing, and I think he would like swing and kick people, which might have. Yeah, which I'm like, seriously?
That's a double standard. So kicking's okay, but punching's not. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's. Let me just.
Every day.
Shit. Whoops.
Technical malfunctioning here on the All Bros.
Yeah, so I have fast keys for the for the soundboard, and I forgot I wasn't supposed to. Yeah, they said 90 Spider-Man wasn't allowed to punch people.
That's so dumb.
Yeah, that is like ridiculously dumb. So yeah, never threw a punch.
Okay. Well, you know what? That gives me an excuse to go watch that show again. So.
Yeah, I know, right? Just to be like, hey, you missed one.
Oh, man. God, that's so crazy. Okay. Well, anyway, Morbius, trailer number 2.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay, let's hear them.
This is a very, very interesting trailer with the things that they mix in and like they're combining. Like, I think this comes out right after Spider-Man into the, or I almost said into the multiverse. So dumb.
They honestly could have called that.
I know, right? This comes out like just like 1 month after No Way Home does. No Way Home is, as we know, is going to introduce the multiverse and possibly merge universes. And that's what I think we're getting here. Because Morbius, in reference to this, he knows Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, because Michael Keaton's in this.
So freaking cool. I loved
Right?
that.
So we have that Tom Holland Spider-Man tie-in. He is walking through an alley, and we see Sam Raimi's Spider-Man poster with like murder like written over it in like graffiti. So we know that there's like some sort of tie to the Raimi universe, or whether that be fan art or whatever. But I'm assuming like it's straight up the Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was so clear as day.
Yeah.
Like there's no mistaking it. Oh, that could be Tom Holland. No, like
No,
it is
yeah.
absolutely not Tom Holland.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so there's that tie-in. And then we also get a tie-in at the end when someone's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Venom." And then he's like, "I'm just kidding, I'm Morbius." And I'm like, okay, so he knows who Venom is too.
Yeah, so freaking 3 universes. What the shit?
Yeah, there's 3 universes, so I'm like, these universes are getting combined. Like that's my ultimate theory. They're getting combined, and yeah, or something like they're getting like mixed together or something like that. Because there's no way that they're going to be like, I don't know how they would address it if they didn't do that. Like I feel like it's going to be like a Play-Doh situation where you're just kind of mixing everything together and you just can't quite get all of the bits and pieces out.
Oh yeah, dude, don't remind me of that shit. I was a
But
bitch as a kid.
That's my theory. I think there's just going to be a perfect mixture of everything.
No,
and so we're going to get, I think that the MCU is getting to a point where they're like, we want to pick and choose some, like, we want some of this from this universe. We want some of that from that universe. And I think that's what they're doing. Like, I think they're nitpicking and being like, all right, everything else can go, like, away. We want Venom, we want Morbius, we want Sam Raimi Spider-Man, like just that costume design idea. Like we want those, and everything else can go away.
Yep. Sorry, Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, right. I feel that's super shitty.
But yeah, I found it very interesting that he's a doctor suffering from this he did say it's incurable, right? But then
yeah, it's like sickle cell something.
Yeah, but then he goes to try to can't remember where he goes to try to find a cure for it, and doing so because there's a lot of other people suffering from it besides himself. He goes to God, where the hell does he go? Do you remember?
Basically, the Bat Cave.
There we go. Yeah, and doing this and finding the cure, or at least the so-called cure, that is how he becomes Morbius.
Yeah, so he goes and gets like bushwhacked by some vampire bats. Like that's where he thinks that the cure lies, is within vampire bats, and doing something to the vampire bats and getting them to like absorb the blood or whatever. I don't know the exact science of it all, but I'm assuming that's what he thinks it happens, and so he goes, gets bit, and then like just slowly starts becoming more and more vampiric. But it does like heal him, but it also the fix is temporary if he doesn't feed on people. And so he's like trying to control this monster inside him and only attack those that deserve it, and kind of becomes an anti-hero.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm always a fan of anti-heroes, so I will absolutely take that kind of story.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very popular thing right now, like anti-heroes.
It honestly is, and I mean, do you feel it's been overdone at all?
Honestly, I love that. I love it when superheroes like blur that line between good and evil. So I'm personally a really big fan of that. Like my favorite heroes, a lot of my top favorite heroes are considered anti-heroes. Like Hulk is technically considered an anti-hero in most instances. There's some where he has like a little bit more control over himself, and then that is where he becomes like more of a hero. But some of my favorite instances is ones where he's considered that anti-hero, like the Immortal Hulk storyline. He's not really considered a hero.
Okay.
And yeah, so like just a bunch of other storylines like that. So I really like him. I really like Punisher. Punisher's definitely considered an anti-hero.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Ghost Rider, same thing with him. Like they're ultimately like they're doing things to bad guys, but they're doing it in such a brutal way that it's considered like almost villainous. So it's like most heroes, like Captain America, isn't going to give his thumbs up on the way that they handle it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think ultimately he's going to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to come after you either because it's technically a bad guy. So yeah, so I love when they blur those lines, and then I think they're doing the same thing with Venom, kind of making him more of an anti-hero, but I wouldn't even consider him like an anti-hero. It's kind of like an anti-villain.
No, that is very true. That is very true.
Yeah, like I think if there was like a scale of good and bad, Venom's like, or most anti-heroes are in the middle, leaning more towards good. Venom's in the middle, leaning more towards bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably why I love him the most.
I know, it's just something different. Like I
Yeah.
love when they show us just those little things of being different.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. Like, bring on the anti-heroes. And I would even be on the team of making the superheroes like the goody two-shoes, like Spider-Man or Captain America or Iron Man, making the heroes like that the protagonists or the antagonists.
That would actually be a very cool idea.
Yeah, just seeing how anti-heroes, people who don't want to do bad things but want to be like as like I would love to see Punisher take on like Captain America, where Captain America is the antagonist. Where Punisher's trying to do something and Captain America just keeps getting in his way, and then it leads to like an ultimate brawl between the two. Like, and then seeing if they could seeing what they could do with blurring the lines with Captain America. Like, I think that'd be so cool. Like, such an interesting story.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah, because I think like completely evil villains are boring. Completely good heroes can be boring. It's always like somewhere in the middle. That's where like my interest lies.
No, I can absolutely agree with you there.
Yeah, and then like also with I'm trying to think like other heroes like Nightcrawler is also one of my favorites, and Daredevil, those heroes that are struggling with their own morals or religious beliefs too. Like I love those storylines too. They're just like, okay, I'm doing this thing that's technically a sin, but I'm doing it to bad people. So like, where on this line of morality am I? Like, I love that shit so much. And so I think that's like with Morbius, he's not a bad guy. Like he's an anti-hero. He's leaning more towards good, or trying to, but it's this control of this hunger that he has. So it's kind of going to be the same issue that Venom has. He's just like, can I eat this guy? No.
Yeah, it's true.
So I'm completely down for this. I'm super pumped.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm still very, very interested in this movie.
1 out of 10. Where are you sitting at?
I'd say I'm probably like at a 7.
That's fair. I'm up at like an 8. Not much
Okay.
higher than you, but just a little bit.
All right. Nice.
But hell yeah. So, good trailer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Definitely one we're adding to our breakdown list.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, unless you have anything else you want to talk about with Morbius.
Nope, I think I'm good.
All right, cool. Well, then let's jump into our headliner. What do you say?
Hell yeah.
All right, so this week on our All Bros headliner, we'll be breaking down M. Night Shyamalan's newest movie, Old. So Caleb, do you want to tell everybody how we break down movies on this podcast?
Hell yeah. So if you are new to our breakdown system, we have split movies into 8 different categories that we individually grade to come to a final All Bros letter grade. The 8 categories that we score are story, writing, acting, character development, but with this being a suspense/thriller movie, we're actually going to follow the rules that we set in place for horror and make this like logic. And just like, did this movie follow the rules that they set in place? And then we have effects, music, costumes, and then we give it our own personal grade at the very end. So with that, Rose is about to spoil the entire damn movie for you. So if you have not seen Old, definitely go give it a watch. It's definitely worth watching.
Yeah. It's definitely, at least in my opinion, one of Shyamalan's better films.
Yeah, and we'll get into how this movie is, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's an interesting one. It is definitely an interesting one.
It's no Last Airbender. We will tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's not like complete and utter shit.
Yeah, it's not that bad, Shyamalan.
Yeah.
All right, so married couple Guy and Prisa Kappa are going through a divorce. To avoid saddening their young children, Maddox and Trent, the couple takes them on a tropical resort as a final family vacation. At the hotel they are staying in, Guy and Prisa, is that how you say her name?
I would say Priska?
Priska, okay. So Priska are given complimentary drinks, and the children befriend the resort manager's nephew, Idlib? Is that how they said it?
Idlib.
Idlib, okay. At night, Maddox and Trent overhear their parents arguing and begin playing a message decoding game with Idlib. The following morning, the manager invites the family to a secluded beach where 3 additional parties are present. Rapper Midsize Sedan and a female companion, surgeon Charles, his wife Crystal, their young daughter Kara, and Charles' mother Agnes, and Jaron and Patricia Carmichael, a close-knit husband and wife. Playing hide-and-seek, Trent discovers the dead body of Midsize Sedan's companion. Charles grows suspicious of Midsize Sedan, who reveals that he has been experiencing nosebleeds because of his affliction with, Hemophilia? Hemophilia? I don't even know how the hell to say that word. It's really sad. After Agnes suddenly dies, the 3 families group together and conclude that the beach is rapidly aging them, with the occupants undergoing the equivalent of a year of aging every 30 minutes. They discover that at least one member of each family has an underlying medical condition, and that trying to leave will result in them blacking out. In a fit of rage, Charles cuts Midsize Sedan with a switchblade, and the group watches as his injury quickly heals. After Priska develops a stomach tumor. Charles performs a successful surgery to remove it. Soon after, mid-sized sedan discovers that the body of his companion has decomposed in a matter of hours. All three children have now aged into adulthood. A bond between the maturing Kara and Trent leads to Kara rapidly giving birth, only for the baby to quickly die from the beach's effects. Amid the group struggling to escape the beach, Trent and Maddox discover the notebook of a previous traveler along with indications of them being watched. The attempts to leave grow tenser when Charles kills mid-sized sedan. While Jaren drowns and Kara falls to her death as they look for a way off, Patricia suffers a fatal epileptic seizure, and Crystal's hypoglycemia results in her bones rupturing, killing her. Charles eventually attacks Guy at night and in a schizophrenic episode, but Priska slashes him with a rusted knife, instigating a fatal blood infection that kills him in seconds. As the night winds down, an elderly Guy and Priska make amends before dying moments apart from each other. With only the now middle-aged Maddox and Trent remaining by the next morning, the pair, which Trent deduces is connected to an underwater coral passage. Believing that the passage will allow them to leave the beach without losing consciousness, he and his sister start swimming through the coral. After they fail to emerge from the water, a resort employee monitoring them reports that the entire group has died. He gives the news to the manager, who mentions a previous incident where a guest almost escaped the beach before announcing that Trial 73 has concluded. It is revealed that the resort is a front for a research team conducting clinical trials of new medical drugs which are administered to guests with medical conditions by spiking their drinks. Since the beach naturally accelerates the lives of guests, the researchers have been able to complete the drug's lifetime trials within a day. The researchers move forward with luring a new group to the beach, but are interrupted by the arrival of Trent and Maddox, who survive their underwater swim. Using the notebook as evidence, the siblings are able to bring the police to the resort. Once the researchers are arrested, Trent and Maddox head home to live with their aunt, uncertain of their future.
Yeah. I'll be 100% real. So, this is just kind of a reflection of how we thought the movie went. We gave the movie an 88.5.
That's not bad for a story. Because it is such an interesting idea.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's just, I think it's once you start breaking it down into like the little individual pieces, because story, this, like, spoiler alert, the story is the highest category that we have.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, the story is incredible. Like, when you think about it, just like it is really, really good. It's just individual aspects, which we'll get into eventually. Like the idea of finding this place and being able to perform medical experiments like this, like, yes, there is a major ethical conundrum here.
Yes.
But ultimately it is, I mean, it's a good idea it
is a very
retrospect.
good idea. It's just not well executed.
Yeah. Like, it's so good. So the way that this island ages you, every hour is the equivalent of 2 years. And so that's how fast it ages you. And it's just, we'll get into it with logic, but I mean, there's some issues I have with it, but it's just like that idea, because they address like so many different issues, because they bring like young children like on the beach with them.
Yeah.
And so the kids are like, you're able to see like a significant difference in the children very, very quickly.
Seriously, like, there's this one part where the kids go and introduce themselves to like the newest group of people on the beach that came like 10 or 20 minutes later. Actually, no, it was probably like 30 minutes later. I don't know. Or no, well, I don't know. How long do you think it was?
They said they slept in for like a couple hours.
Okay, so yeah, that makes more sense. But yeah, so since it had been a couple hours, when Trent and that's his name, right? Trent and Maddox?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
brother and sister.
So when they go and introduce themselves to this new couple that had just come, they're just like, oh, like, hey, how old are you guys? And they're just like, oh, guess. And they're just like, oh, like, you look like 11 and your sister looks like 14. And Trent's just like, no, I'm 6. And he's just like, the guy's just like, okay, you guys are playing mind tricks with us. There's no way you're 6. You have to be at least 10 or 11. And the freaking guys just like, they're playing like freaking mind games with us and shit. It's kind of funny.
I thought that was such an interesting conversation. I'm just like, like, okay, I can see that, like, where kids would be messing with you.
Yeah.
So I think the rate, like, I was actually a little bit higher on my story grade than you were, but seeing that we're at that 88.5, I was trying to think of like what would bring the story down, and I think ultimately it was like the mental capacity of the kids. Like it.
Ooh, okay.
It was. It seemed like the kids were able to start doing math a lot better than, like, I feel a 6-year-old should.
Oh, that's so true.
And like
So
the emotional attachments, like, okay, so they have another child there. Her name is Kara. She is from a different family between Charles and Crystal. Charles is a head doctor or a medical chief officer, whatever the hell, from a hospital. And Crystal seems like she's some social media influencer type crazy person.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good way to describe her.
Yeah. So
God, the way that she talks to her daughter, like, honey, stand up straight. Guys won't think you're attractive if you're like slouching when you're older. I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah. Jeez, I'm trying to see how old they have the young Kara at, because they have the Kara at age 15. They have a Kara at 11. So maybe she's the same age. So she was like 6 years old, too. And shit got weird.
Yeah.
Like, they were talking, like, it was like a really interesting conversation between, there was this character, Mid-Sized Sedan, who is like some famous rapper. He was just funky in general. Like, what the hell was his purpose?
Yeah, seriously though.
Like, he was on the beach all night. Or at least it felt like he did, unless he went to the beach like super early in the morning.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But yeah, so he was on this beach, and then Maddox, at her like normal age, like pointed it out and was just like, oh my gosh, like that's Mid-Sized Sedan, like this famous rapper, blah 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 blah. And then as she started like getting older, like there was like this really weird connection between them, where they were like having hearts.
The only one.
Yeah, they were having like this heart to heart, and I'm just like, this is gross. And she was talking about like her mental capacity and being like, oh, I had all these like these bright colors, these bright and loud colors, and now I have like more colors in my mind, but they're just all a little quieter. And I'm like, the hell?
Yeah, seriously.
And then when they were dealing, it was just so weird. And then they were dealing with all this like other weird shit, like this rapidly decomposed body, or someone dying, or this like surgery, or like her mom had this this tumor that was growing, and it was just increasingly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, so it was just getting bigger, and so they had to do this this crazy surgery to remove the tumor. and Charles was like able to perform it, and so she like Maddox was sitting there like kind of all up in the thick of it, and then Midsize Sedan like had his hand on her shoulder. I'm like, that's
Nope.
weird.
Yeah.
Like
Dude, she was 8 like last night, so no.
Yeah, like
Or
let's
like
see
10,
how old.
whatever.
The youngest age that I'm seeing for Maddox is 11.
Okay, yeah, no, hell no.
Still
She
funky.
was like, what? Very, yeah, because what was she? Was she like 15 or 16 in that scene?
Yeah, so in that they had switched to the 16-year-old actress.
Okay. Bleh. No.
Either way you want to look at it, that's freaking weird.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, like, ultimately I docked it, because I'm just like, okay, there's some ideas here that are not great.
Yeah.
But
Know what was really grossed me out was the freaking when like when they make an incision and it just automatically heals back up. They're just like, oh no, we have to like hold it up, pry it open with our hands to where you can cut it open. I'm like, oh hell no, that's gross.
yeah,
like my unsanitary like that was kicking in. I'm like, that is so unsanitary.
Dude, not even that. The way that when they were spreading that, they were like, I can feel it healing around me. Like,
yeah, so and the guy was not kidding. That thing was the size of a freaking cantaloupe.
yeah. So, like, for the
huge.
majority of the movie, you don't know what's happening to these people. Anytime they try to leave this island, they're blacking out. And did they ever, like, really explain? Like, I think that's another thing that I docked for. Like, did they ever truly explain why they were blacking out? Or was it because that they were leaving this, like, environment that was rapidly aging them? And so the halt to that aging process is what made them, like, pass out.
I think that's what it was because, like you said, because they're aging so fast, the fact that they're trying to go back to a time that would halt this process, their body's kind of just like, okay, hell no, that's like too much for me to take, and so that's why they black out.
Okay. Yeah, what I didn't ever get was why did they end up back in the middle of the beach?
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Yeah, never explained.
Yeah, that was like another thing that kind of pulled me out. I'm just like, not loving that. But it's just like the reveal, like the typical M. Night Shyamalan reveal of what was actually going on, that they're testing these drugs, like what they're claiming are these miracle cures, and they're doing like a lifetime of testing in an evening or in like a single day, like, and they reveal, like, they kind of had this reveal that they're that everyone on this island or this beach had some sort of medical condition. Charles had some sort of like mental disorder.
He had
Schizophrenia? Okay, yeah. So it kind of made him a little racist and paranoid. Yeah. Let's see. Midsize Sedan had a whatever that disease was that caused like, or I'll just say chronic nosebleeds.
Yeah, there we go.
Priska had a tumor. Crystal had like a calcium deficiency. Patricia, she had
Crystal had hypoglycemia.
Hypoglycemia? Oh, is that okay?
Or sorry, hypocalcemia. Sorry,
hypocalcemia. Okay. Patricia had epilepsy. Caused her to have like some crazy bad seizures.
I think so.
And then I think her husband Jaron was fine.
Yeah, so not everyone had an existing health condition, as long as like someone from each family had something. That's all they cared about.
Yeah. So it was interesting because at the very end they reveal that they snuck some cocktail into, or they snuck some drug into these people's cocktail at the beginning of their visit. when they
Yeah.
were like when they came to the hotel, and then when they went to the island, it was like that rapid aging, and so Patricia had gone through the entirety of her visit on the beach. I mean, up until her ultimate death. What did they say? She lived like 8 hours without having an epileptic episode, but then she had. I thought what was happening was like, oh, she's just like moving through these phases of time so fast that her body can't like keep up, and so I thought what she had was like the ultimate like epileptic seizure.
Yeah,
That-
I kind of thought the same thing.
Like I just thought it was like a buildup of stuff, but then she like had the crazy seizure that killed her. So yeah, that was like really interesting.
Because didn't the doctor come and say because it was 8 hours, that is equivalent to 16 years without an epileptic seizure?
Actually, let's see exactly what that timeline would be. So it was 8 hours, or how long did she? Was it 18 hours? It wasn't 18 hours. It was 8, right?
It was 6 or 8. I can't remember which one. I think you're right. I
Okay,
think
so
it
if
was
she survived 8 hours, that would have been 16 years without
Okay.
a seizure.
8. So yep, 16 years.
Yeah, so it's just like however much time that like translates to, which is just freaking weird to think about.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool though.
It is. It's super cool. It's just like it's so freaking interesting. But I think another thing, like why is it that the coral was like a passageway?
Yeah, like seriously, though, why is it coral that
Like
what's
was
the
it a
word?
special type of coral? Was it just being able to like swim like underneath that like radius?
It had
or,
to
like-
be. I don't know.
Like it was just like weird. Like why was that like the gateway?
Yeah, like how is coral the one that slows down this process?
Yeah, it was just like an odd thing. Like nothing too big, at least story wise. I'm like, okay, like I can buy that, I guess.
Yeah,
Like maybe it was just the coral was putting something off in the water that counteracted the whatever substance or that was another thing. They revealed that it was like some sort of like the minerals of the beach, like that were specific to the beach. It was something in the rocks and the sand and all of that did the hyper aging
yeah.
to like everyone's cells. And so they were thinking like, oh, we can make a big metal tube and hide it in. And they're like, how the hell are we going to get a big metal tube?
I found it super interesting that they touch upon how like, oh, if like we're aging, why isn't our like nails growing faster, or why isn't our hair changing color? And didn't they say because that stuff is technically already dead? They're like dead cells, so of course it's not going to, because you're aging so fast. I forget how they explain it, but they do explain it it felt like they explained it in a very understandable way.
I didn't even think of that. Like, that was another like thing that like threw me off. I'm like, why aren't there? So, but that makes like absolute sense now.
Yeah, because
Yeah. So it's like it's already like dead or disconnected from your like actual body. So okay, I can buy that.
Yeah, so yeah, because I thought like the same thing until they brought that up. I'm like, okay, never mind. You guys explained it.
Yeah, that is okay. I like that. Yeah. So an 88.5, I think it definitely reflects just how good the idea of this story was.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it can bring up a lot of like interesting conversations about that kind of stuff. But moving on over to writing, we gave this a 73. So it was significantly less than the story.
There's kind of some cheesy parts.
It's one of my things that I've always kind of bitched and complained about is wasted dialogue. And there could have not been more of that. Like, it just felt like every conversation beforehand, I'm like, all right, let's just get to the beach.
Yeah, like seriously though. Like the part where they're like just in their hotel room before they decide to go to not this beach but the other beach, that feels like completely wasted dialogue. I feel the only time that they needed to talk in their hotel room was when they are actually fighting and their kids hear them fighting.
Yeah, like, I want to understand, like, it was just like, what was the purpose behind, like, that aspect? Like, they could have, she was dealing with a tumor, something that she thought was terminal in one way or another. It's just like, why did they have to throw in, like, the divorce aspect of it?
Yeah,
it's like seriously. They were dealing with so much already. Like, it just felt odd for them to, like, try and deal with the divorce. And they didn't even, like, handle it all that well. Like, the very end is like, what were we fighting about? And I'm like, really? Like, dumb.
Yeah, like, seriously, yeah. And, like, the whole, like, the wife's talking to this other guy, and the husband's just like, oh, why are you talking to him? He's a piece of crap. You deserve so much better. I'm just like, okay, you guys have barely even talked about this other guy. So I guess I'm just supposed to take your word that he's a piece of shit. Okay.
Yeah, like, who?
Yeah. I don't even think they gave him a name, did they?
No, they didn't.
What the shit?
Yeah, it was just like, he just said, like, really, that guy? So, I mean, I guess that's, like, one way that they could have been like, oh, we're just treating the audience like adults. Like, he knows who
Fair.
She's cheating with. But, like, they don't need to do some, like, exposition, like, because how, like, I think it would have just been worse had he been like, really, my best friend? Or really, my coworker? Like, whatever. Like, whatever the situation may have been. Like, I think that would have come off way worse.
No, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll give some, like, bonus points for treating us like adults in that aspect. It's just, that was an odd thing to throw in for them to be dealing with. I'm like, nah, they were dealing with so much other shit.
Yeah.
So.
How did you feel with the writing between Charles, his wife, and then his mother?
I thought it was weird. Like, that whole family felt odd.
Am I like the only one that felt that, like, so it was like, I thought Charles and his mom were actually the couple, and
yep, I did too.
Okay. And then the lady was their daughter, and then that was their granddaughter. That's what I thought.
That is exactly what I thought too.
Okay, good. I'm not trying to sound like, oh, like go against anyone that, like, has a huge age gap in their relationship, but that's just how it came across to me. It isn't explained that they're husband and wife until they get to the beach. It is not, like, showcased in that first scene.
Yep. And that felt freaking... It felt so weird because it was like she was just blatantly flirting with the waiter at the table when, like, they first introduced. So I'm just like, okay, this is a weird dynamic. Like, these parents are watching their daughter, like, just kind of flaunt herself, like, because Charles and his mother had the same expression on their face. So I was just like, okay, so they're just kind of both irritated with her shit. Like, I don't know. Like, I think it would have made more sense had Charles been sitting on the same side as Crystal.
Yes, absolutely.
And then Kara been sitting with her grandmother.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think that would have established it. It's just, it felt so weird. But yeah, it was just dialogue after wasted dialogue. Just,
yeah,
so funky. And, like, they never really established what the hell Charles had.
No,
like, I don't
really.
feel like they did, because do schizophrenics, like,
Well,
because
I mean,
he,
I
like
don't
his
really
whole
know,
obsession was like, does anyone know that movie with Marlon Brando and who else?
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But he's like, does anyone else know that movie? Does anyone know that movie? And I'm like, that seems like an obsessive compulsive thing. Like,
Here, I want to look up the actual like definition of schizophrenia.
yeah, it was just like, I was thinking like for a long time that it was Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay. Actually, his behavior actually does make sense with that whole like. Do you remember that movie? Because it's defined as a mental disorder characterized by delusions, hallucinations, disorganized thoughts, speech, and behavior.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm a little bit more forgiving of that scene then.
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it's common for ages 18 to 35, and it's more common in males. Wonderful.
It tracks. Yeah, so I think most of his stuff, like I think it was just the not clarity or the lack of clarity with his stuff that made it a little hard to follow. And I'm just like, okay, what the hell is his problem? Like, I know he has a problem. Like, what is it?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Midsize Sedan was like a weird one too. Like, what the hell was his problem? Like, other than like the chronic nosebleeds, I'm like, that doesn't seem like a big enough issue to like run an experiment like this.
Yeah, I agree. But what's his is it hemophilia? Yeah, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Is a mostly inherited genetic disorder that impairs the body's ability to make blood clots, a process needed to stop bleeding. Easy bruising and an increase. This results in people bleeding for a longer time after an injury, easy bruising, and an increased risk of bleeding inside joints or the brain. Those with a mild case of the disease may have symptoms only after an accident or during surgery. Bleeding into a joint can result in permanent damage, while bleeding in the brain can result in long-term headaches, seizures, or a decreased level of consciousness. Shit.
Yeah, they I looked up this article about it, and they're just like, yeah, they never really addressed what his problem was. It was an unspecified blood disease.
Okay, all right.
So, I thought like Midsize Sedan was just like a wasted character.
He really was, honestly, and it's not the actor's fault. Actor did the best with what he was given.
Oh my gosh! Like everything that he said, like every time like something happened, he's just damn, and then like nothing. Like he wouldn't follow it up with anything. I'm just like, okay, yeah.
But how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I'm like, follow it up with something, like, other than just, damn. And then just blank expression. And then they, like, moved on to someone that actually had something worth something to hear.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so dumb. But, it, like, I also feel like with how long, or how much longer he was on the beach, like, why... Like, I have a hard time understanding why the hell his girlfriend disappeared, because it seemed like he was there like all night.
Yeah, it did.
So she should have been like way more decomposed than she was. But was it just the fact that she was in the water?
And shouldn't he have looked a lot older than he did?
Yeah, something along those lines, right?
Because Maddox like recognized him instantly. So if that's the case, then he must have looked exactly like she remembers him. But honestly, if he's been there for I mean, I don't know what time they went in there at night, but yeah, he should be freaking like almost double his age by now.
Yeah, you would think. Like, what the hell? And then just the fact that he was just sitting on the... Like, it was just an odd thing for him to be related in the story at all. Like, I think they could have had the exact same story. I think that instead of Charles killing mid-sized sedan, have him kill the nurse.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, mid-sized sedan was a very much wasted character.
Yeah, and then... I mean, shit, the... what was the nurse's name? Jaren? Jaren was freaking wasted too. He just went out and, like, tried swimming. I'm like, cool, we've already seen someone try to leave the island by swimming.
Yeah.
With mid-sized sedan's girlfriend. Like, so obviously there's just some sort of, like, magical bubble around this island. That's what I would have thought. Like, anyone who would have been like, oh, maybe if we climb up. And I'm like, no, that is not how minerals work. Like, you are so freaking stupid. But I would have believed, like, someone with the mental capacity of a 6-year-old like Kara.
Yeah, see, that one absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, where she'd been like, maybe if we go up. And I'm like, no, you're a child. Stop.
I want to point out, though, with the whole, like, Kara and Trent thing, I shouldn't have laughed, but the part where, you know, like, they're, like, shocked that she's pregnant, and he's just like, oh, I thought you had to, like, do that, like, 10 times in order to get pregnant.
Oh, my gosh.
I actually freaking started laughing. I'm like, no, buddy, that is not how that works. Maybe if you have a condom, but...
Dude, I was losing my mind. I'm just like, because first off, they don't show that they're doing anything. It just showed that they were just, like, laying there. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, this is, like, weird because they're, like, talking about, like, adult things. And I'm like, you guys are, like, have the mental capacity of a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
like, this is getting weird. And then when she comes out and she's pregnant, I'm just like, this is gross. And then when she actually had the baby, like, Brielle heard, like, crying, and she's just like, oh my gosh, you had the baby. And I'm like, the 6-year-old.
Can we, I don't know if I would put, no, this wouldn't be an effect, so I just want to bring this up. Is it just me, or I mean, I don't know how big the fetus would have been, like, the actual, like, baby. Because the way that they were portraying the baby, like, when Trent's just like, oh, we need to put him to rest, it seriously looked like it was just a folded up blanket. It looked like there was nothing in there.
Because the bones were, like, it would have been bones.
That is, okay, never mind. I take away
and the dust spilling out was the bones having, like, decomposed.
I missed that. Okay, shit, Shyamalan. Okay, kudos to you. Shit, okay.
That's what I thought too. I was just like, that's a lot of dust. Like, you guys didn't clean that up at all. And then I was like, oh, wait, you guys have talked about this. Bones decompose a little bit later.
Okay, all right. Never mind.
Yeah, right.
Objection retracted. Or complaint retracted.
Yeah, we'll get into this with logic because I have issues.
Okay.
It's interesting to think about, like, that pregnancy, and, like, that I'll leave it at that for now. Now. Yeah, but writing wise, it was significantly worse than the actual story. There were so many things that pulled me out of it. Like, it wasn't even funny. Yeah, moving on over to acting. Let's see. We have Gail Bernal, who played Guy. Vicky Krieps, who played Priska. Rufus Sewell, who played Charles. Alex Wolff, who played Trent when he was 15. Thomasin McKenzie, who played Maddox when she was 16. Abby Lee, who played Crystal. Nikki Amuka Bird, who played Patricia. Ken Leong, who played Jaren. Eliza Scanlon, who played Kara when she was aged at 15. Aaron Pierce, who played Midsize Sedan. Like, unfortunately, we have to go through this, like, entire list. M. Beth Davids, who played adult Maddox. Eamon Elliott, who played adult Trent. Alexa Swinton, who played Maddox, aged 11. Gustav Hammerstein, who played the resort manager. Kathleen Chalfant, who played Agnes, which I believe was Charles's mother.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
She wasn't important. Okay, Nolan River, who played Trent, aged 6. Luca Rodriguez, who played Trent, age 11. Micaiah Fisher, who played Kara, aged 11. And then I believe that was it. And then M. Night Shyamalan played the hotel van driver.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that he he always has a part in all of his movies. I never knew that.
Does he really?
Yeah, because when I saw him at the poster, I'm like, that's Shyamalan, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not super familiar with like how he looks.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't pick up on that.
Oh,
But,
not a bad
yeah.
actor.
Unfortunately, they don't have an actress for Kara when she was aged 6.
Huh? Interesting.
Yeah. So really decent cast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, we gave them a 70.5.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Honestly, the acting. Well, okay. Actually, I was telling myself this while watching. I'm like, you know what? Like the acting is good as it gets for like a Shyamalan movie. But then I'm like, okay, wait, hold up. Shyamalan has had James McAvoy, Samuel L. Jackson, and freaking Bruce Willis in his films. How can the acting be not so good in this one?
Yeah, it was just like something was just odd about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, like, I'm pretty sure it wasn't due to the story. Like, I'm sure that it might have had, like, a small part in it. But overall, it was just odd. Like, it just felt off.
It did.
Like, everyone felt off. Like, I had a hard time believing, like, until, like, the very end, that Guy and Priska would have been, like, romantic with each other. Like,
Yeah,
it almost
seriously,
felt like
though.
they were, like, siblings in a way.
Yeah. Oh, that is a perfect way to explain it. Yep. Yeah, they just felt like brother and sister.
Yeah, and then I think we addressed it. Charles and Crystal, they did not feel like husband and wife. They felt very much like father and daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. And freaking the lady or the girl that played Maddox at 16. I think she needs to work a little bit on her acting chops.
Absolutely.
I don't know why, because it was in the trailer, and also just the scene in the movie where she's just like, "Dad, why are you looking at me like that?" I don't know, just the way that she said it, I'm just like, oh, that's kind of cringy.
It is cringy, but have you ever heard an 11-year-old talk? It is
Okay, no,
very
fair
much
enough.
like that. Everything they say is awkward.
Okay.
So
Okay,
I
maybe
was
that's-
actually
maybe
able to
that's
let
the
that
only
go.
good part.
Yeah, I was
Maybe that's,
actually...
like,
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was like something I was able to let go, and I'm like, okay, it's like an 11-year-old. They kind of have this like weird way of talking. Like they're kind of discovering their voice, like their
Yeah, okay,
tone.
fair
Like
enough.
even when I've gone back and like watched old home movies of me talking, I want to like shoot myself for ever having spoken like that.
Same. Absolute same.
Yeah, so I was able to let that go, and it progressively got better.
Okay, I'll give you that.
But it was just like these weird little things that I'm just like, ugh, not digging that. Like anything Mid-sized sedan did. I was not a fan of.
No, same here. Okay, so you said it's Alex Wolff, right? That was in this one?
Yes.
Okay. And he's supposed to play the 15-year-old of Trent?
Yes.
I'm sorry, he looks way too old to be a freaking 15-year-old.
Yeah.
I think like early 20s, because I think that's what Alex is. I mean, I know he's playing like a high schooler in like Jumanji, in the 2 Jumanji films that he's in, but that was like years ago. That was like back in like 2017, where he could still pass for that. But now he's just too freaking old to try to pass off as like a freaking, and he's supposed to be like a freaking, like, if he's 15, he's a freaking middle schooler in this.
Yeah. It was. I think that like the time thing ended up working pretty well in their favor.
Oh yeah,
because then they could eventually be like, well, he wasn't 15 for that long.
Nah, yeah, true.
So I think that's why it worked out a little bit. I think they might have kept. I think they should have gone for someone who looked a little bit older than the 16-year-old Maddox. Because I felt like I'm like, okay, now it feels like she's younger than Trent.
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So that felt just different.
Who else?
I'm trying to think of like if there was. Honestly, the only person that I was like really impressed with throughout was Patricia and Jaren.
That was the
That was
like the couple that was late, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I absolutely agree. I actually thought their acting was pretty good.
Yeah. They're actually what brought it up for me a lot. Like
Even
I would have been in the 60s if they weren't in it.
Yeah, same here. Because like honestly, even when they're at the hotel, I freaking love their like freaking sarcasm at each other. Because after she has her like seizure, she's just like, "Oh, like I'm really sorry," and he's just like, "Oh no, it's okay, honey. You always got to be the center of attention."
I know. I freaking love that stuff.
that was great.
Yeah. So interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. Honestly, like biggest besides them, I don't know. I actually really liked Shyamalan's acting in this. I thought he was actually pretty good for the little role that he had.
I was gonna say he wasn't in it that much.
No, he wasn't. But I don't know. Like for what he was in, I actually thought he was decent. I didn't know that he was like he's not a horrible actor. He can decently act and I would say decently direct.
Yeah. The only Crystal's acting I had issues with, and it was once she became like homicidal, like trying to smash the kids with a rock. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, that was. I mean, I guess like you could say, oh yeah, but if you're aging that fast and your bones are like degrading that fast, wouldn't you start going crazy? Not that crazy.
Yeah, not like homicidal crazy.
Yeah.
Like I would have more believed if she would have tried to like throw a rock out of like a fit of rage.
Yeah, that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, but it looked like she was going for the kids.
Yeah, what the hell did those kids ever do to you?
Yeah, exactly. Like they were like freaking out. She was like, "Oh my gosh, that scene was so gross."
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and we'll get into that with effects, but yeah, acting wise, not the best. It was watchable. It was watchable. It doesn't pull you out of it that much, but it's just it has issues. Yeah. All right, moving on over to character development, which we are going to be talking about logic. And this is where I had some issues. I actually had so much issues, I made a chart of how long different things take.
I love it.
All right, so they established that every 30 minutes is the equivalent of 1 year.
Yes.
So, if so this is kind of getting into the scene with Crystal where she was like throwing the rocks and breaking her bones.
Mm-hmm.
The average amount of time for bones to heal, at least to the point where it's like, oh, now it's like stuck that way, is 6 to 8 weeks of normal time.
Okay.
So 6 to 8 weeks in this world is the equivalent of 3.75 minutes. And it seemed like she was about to throw the rock and it like snapped her bones. And then they're just like, oh, it's healed. I'm like, you guys have been sitting there for almost 4 minutes. Like, I'm calling bullshit.
That doesn't sound believable.
Yeah, right? Let's see. Another one. The only one that I feel like they got on the money was the baby. Because that, like, gestation period would have taken 22.5 minutes. That was 9 months. So they were just like,
Okay.
she must have only been pregnant for like 20 minutes. So I'm like, okay, like I can believe that.
Yeah, okay.
The other one that I had a hard time believing was the lacerations. Like anytime someone got cut or whatever, it like healed instantly.
Yeah, so it's every 30 minutes is 1 year, right?
Yes.
So if most lacerations, because most of those were pretty freaking deep, would you say that would probably take, like at least like a month or two to, well, I don't know. Like if your cut is that deep, how long would you say it's going to take to heal?
So lacerations in surgery take about 2 weeks to heal.
Okay.
So that is the equivalent of 75 seconds.
Yeah, that was not that.
No, not even a
That
little
was like
bit.
10 seconds tops.
Hell, some of them were like instant.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, so there's like a bunch of shit that I'm just like, nah, I'm not buying it.
Just like, the hell, Shyamalan, you should have done your research more.
Yeah, right?
I mean, this is actually based off a book, so maybe this isn't Shyamalan doing his research. This is actually the author's fault for how...
Maybe, but he is credited for adapting it to a screenplay.
Okay, that's true.
So he could have made the changes if he wanted to.
Good point.
I'm looking up real quick how long it would take someone to die of tetanus. Okay, so the incubation period, time from exposure to illness is usually between 30 and 21 days. Average is about 10 days. So that is about 50 seconds of when you would start to show symptoms.
Okay. And
that one was like, oh, I mean, I can give you that.
Well, yeah.
So Charles was attacking Guy and Priska, for those of you that decided to listen to this without watching the movie. He was attacking them with a knife because he's like, you guys, like, like you guys are going to tattle on me to my boss and get me, like, banned from being a doctor or whatever. So he was, like, attacking them with a knife. And so while he was cutting them, it was, like, instant heal. And I'm like, that would suck, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then Prisco runs off and grabs like a rusty knife and then cuts him with it. Cuts Charles with it. And then Charles dies of tetanus, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
Yeah, so for tetanus to show symptoms, it would have been 10 days, which 10 days... Or 1 day is the equivalent of 5.35 seconds. And so for him to even be seeing symptoms, that would have been 50 seconds, which is somewhat believable with how long that he sat there if you're counting movie time.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm like, I can buy that.
Yeah.
But what I'm not buying is some of the other shit. The biggest one was like the broken bones. I'm like, no, those take like a while to set.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she was like snapping bones and they were like setting instantly, and then she became like super disfigured. I'm like, that is disgusting.
Yeah, it's very, very, very disgusting.
Yeah. Other than that, I do feel like they did a pretty decent job at following their own logic.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. For the most part, whenever they said like, "Oh, this is why this is happening," it honestly did make sense. And the questions that I had, actually, Caleb answered for me. So,
yeah, let's see. How long do you think they were on that island? Like Trent and Maddox. Like how long would you have guessed?
maybe like 2 days and 1 morning.
You think they were there for 48 hours?
Well, wait. No, I'm sorry.
It was 1 day, right?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was 1 day. So yeah, 1 day and like part of a morning.
So it's definitely 12 hours plus. I don't know, maybe like it seemed like they got there like pretty early in the morning, and then when they started like sailing off, that was like noon-ish.
Yeah.
So maybe they were there for like 14 hours, so that would have been the exact same time plus 2, like just guesstimating that they got there around 10.
Yeah, that's actually the time that I was going to say.
Okay, so if they were there for 14 hours, that would have aged them 28 years.
And so when they actually get off, then aren't they say that they're in their 50s?
Yeah, but Trent was 6, so he would have been in his 30s. He would have been like 34. And then if Maddox was 11, so 6, and then Maddox would have been almost 40. And that's just like a guesstimate. Like how okay, so like let's say he was right and he was like in his 50s. If you divide that by 2, that would have put him, or no, hold on, let me do this math right. So let's say he was in his 50s, you subtract 6, and then you divide that by 2. So that would have put him at 22 hours for him to be 50.
Okay. Because the only reason we know that he's in his 50s is because at the end they say, "Oh, you called your aunt, right?" Yeah. And how did she react? Oh, when you call your aunt and you say that you're 50 something and you were 6 years old yesterday, how would you react, or some shit like that?
Right. Which, first off, like, why in the absolute hell would the aunt believe that?
Yeah, straight up.
Like, everyone kind of just accepted that was true.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, I would seriously need like a full-on interrogation.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm calling horse shit.
Yeah. Like, listen here, you little shit. I need your social security number. I need your known. I just need everything to prove that you are my nephew.
Yeah. Okay, like that's another thing that we could have docked for logic, which I think 78 is still fair, taking that into consideration. Just the fact that everyone seemed to accept that really fast.
Yeah, like he shows the cop, "Hey, this is what happened. Here's the list of people that were on the island before us."
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, you have a list of names of missing people. Guess who's getting arrested, buddy? You are.
True. That is very true.
Like, I was just like, are you shitting me? Like, come on.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah, so 22 hours. So that would have meant, like, if we were just guessing that he got there around 9. Like, let's say 9 in the morning.
Okay.
So, plus 22 hours. Or so 9 to 9 is 12. Plus an additional 10. So that would put him, like, late afternoon. Which I'm not buying, because there were guests arriving, and they usually arrived in the morning. Okay,
Yeah.
so he must have been just, like, guesstimating.
Which, understandable.
Yeah.
Get that.
Is that even, like, an amount of time? Actually, now I'm not even believing. Okay, let's see how old... I'm just tearing this apart. I want to see how old the dad is. Okay, so he was 42 years old. The dad.
Okay.
And if he was there for, let's say, like 10 hours, so that would have put him at dying at 62, which he seemed a little young for that.
He did, and he had no, as far as we know, he had no underlying health conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, 62 seems young.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they could have, like, bumped the timeline up a little bit.
Yeah.
But, okay, well, then you would be messing around with, like, the timeline of, like, the baby.
Okay,
of how long that would have taken.
That's true.
I'm going to look up, just see if someone knows how long they were stuck on the island. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about, like, anyone guessing how long they were on the island. So the kids, Trent and Maddox, I would have guessed were in their, like, early 30s, like mid 40s.
Yeah, that would make sense. And honestly, I mean, the way that they looked, I could see that.
Yeah, so I think 50 was, like, just a child's guess.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Which we're getting into, like, some crazy specifics here.
Yeah, just a little bit,
So yeah, I think overall they did a really good job at keeping, like, the timelines in check.
Yes, absolutely.
But it was, like, injuries that I think they went a little loosey-goosey on. And
love how you say that, loosey-goosey.
Yeah, and I think the biggest one that they got right was the baby. And that was, like, the only thing that they got right. Everything else, like, injury-wise or health-wise, I think they, yeah, like I said, they got a little loose on.
Might have gotten a little ahead of themselves.
Yeah, I'd say that.
All
right. Personally, I feel another thing that, like, logic-wise, if you guys were so concerned about someone, like, surviving this beach, why the hell would you allow him to be like, oh, they've been underneath for a minute and a half, like, let's leave. Or, like, let's freaking
like,
bounce.
Seriously, straight up.
Like, you dumbass, how about you wait an extra, like, 20 minutes?
Yeah, just to confirm.
Like, how... Like, he's just like, I am ready to freaking clock out.
Or, like, maybe after you've gotten the van all packed up, take a second glance just to make sure you didn't miss anything?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, how bad are you at your job? Like, I would seriously just, like, look at that asshole and be like, you know what? You're fired.
Yeah, right? Seriously, though.
Ooh, they've been under a minute and a half. Guess what? Like, people can survive that long.
Yeah, you'd be amazed how long people can hold their breath.
Yeah, especially in life and death situation like that. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, that was just complete and utter bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 78.5, I think I'm starting to feel like that was pretty generous.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Moving on over to effects. We gave this an 82.
Not bad.
Yeah. All of the effects that they did have, like, logically, the injury's like bullshit. But the way that they were healing up, like, all of that looked pretty crisp.
It honestly did. Like, even like them pulling out the tumor, that actually looked really good. Very realistic.
That was gross as shit, though. But
yeah. Very, very much so.
I also kind of had a hard time with that. I'm like, that's not how cancer works. Like, is it?
I mean, I honestly wouldn't know, because no one I know has ever had to have their tumors like actually removed. It's chemo that shrunk them. Well, wait, no,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's what I thought too.
Well, I think that they can still, after chemo shrinks them, they will go in and remove them when they're smaller. So actually, I lied. That did happen with my mom. But as far as I know, that is not exactly how a tumor gets cut out.
Yeah,
Gotta be a little different, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But I mean, hey, any of you doctors out there, let us know if we're wrong. Is this really how it works?
Yeah, we're probably wrong.
Yeah.
Trying to think of like anything else. Like, I think they did a really good job with Crystal. When her bones, when she became like the freaking Hunchback of Notre Dame and tried to smash the kids with the rock, the way it fell, it did look very rubbery.
Yeah, but
I think it was also just the shock of seeing that was a lot to deal with. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's almost that like they were able to disguise the issues with that, with the brutality.
Yeah. I really liked the I can't remember. Do we? Well, no, that would probably go with makeup. Never mind.
What were you thinking?
Like the actual oh my gosh, like aging that they did on the mom and dad, like with the wrinkles and all that stuff. I feel like the makeup for that, or I don't know if that was CGI. It looked makeup to me. I thought that looked actually like really, really good.
Yeah. I think they could have been, well, not really. I was going to say I feel like they could have been a little bit better about what that aging would have looked like. But with the way that I think it was the hair that threw me off.
Yeah, same here. And yeah, you can't really get mad at them with that because it's already dead, so that's why it didn't change color with their aging.
Yeah, so that makes sense. It kind of seems like I thought the entirety of the beach is like everything got like aged super rapidly, but it seems like it only affected like human cells, because it didn't seem like it affected food. It didn't seem like it affected metal. Like I thought it did, with the way that they're just like, oh, look how rusted all this stuff is. I'm like, okay, well, with 73 tests, like, and them just kind of being out in the open, like, yeah, that makes sense that they'd be rusted like that.
Yeah, because I'm just assuming probably like the type of air that a saltwater ocean can give off. That can happen.
Yeah. So, everything else, like, really hard to complain about much else. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I think those were the biggest effects, were the hunchback snapping of the bones and everything, like contortionist. But yeah, so 82, I think, like I said, was pretty fair.
Yeah.
The next two, I don't think we're gonna have a whole lot to say about. But getting into music, we're sitting at a 6.
There's nothing really special here. It's good for what it comes across on. It's not horrible, but like nothing really stands out. It's kind of just like a bare bones, basic soundtrack.
Yeah, like I absolutely agree with that one. I think it didn't have anything like going for it, like soundtrack wise. Which, I mean, it works for this. It's just still not like super ideal. Like I feel like they could have done a little bit more music wise to enhance the scenes, and I think that it just felt like the music was accompanying the scenes, not like enhancing.
Yes, definitely.
It more felt like, okay, we need music for this stuff, so like let's just put something in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we said, sitting at a 6. Going over to costumes, nothing too memorable, but I think they did a pretty decent job at giving everyone like a decent enough looking swimsuit.
I do want to point out with the whole aging thing and growing. So the shirt that Trent is wearing, that's supposed to be the exact same yellow button up shirt, right?
Like his? I thought it was his dad's.
That's his dad's?
Yeah, because it seemed
Okay,
like they
never
brought
mind.
a bunch of spare clothes. Because the mom brought a spare swimming suit. I'm assuming the dad didn't wear a shirt like a lot of the time.
That's true. Okay,
So maybe it was just his dad's shirt.
Yeah, because I was gonna say there is no way that like a shirt that's made for like a teenager is going to fit a year-old man that well. Because like it looked like it wasn't like compressed to him or not. But yeah, okay, never mind. If that was his dad's, then I take away that criticism.
Yeah. And then Maddox, she got put into a new suit. One that like fit her a little bit better, but that one I was just like, even before they went to the beach, I'm like, that seems like a really big swimsuit for her.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
So I think they could have gotten away with not doing the switch just because of how petite she was.
No, that's true. That's very true.
But I mean, whatever. Like, you do you.
yeah, exactly.
Everyone else though, like pretty bare bone costumes. So
yeah,
no real
nothing really
complaints
else to
there.
say. No.
Like they weren't like terrible costumes, but they weren't like super great either.
Yes, exactly.
All right, moving on over to our personal grade. Where are you sitting at?
So overall, I remember first seeing the trailer for this movie in the actual theaters. I forget what movie I saw it with. But I'm just like, damn, that looks very intriguing. I didn't think honestly I would be checking it out this soon. But I'm glad I did. It's definitely one of M. Night Shyamalan's better films. I haven't seen all of his movies. Honestly, the only ones that I've seen are The Last Airbender, Split, and this movie. I've never seen Glass or Unbreakable. I think that's the first movie in that trilogy.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen The Happening, or did he do Signs? Was that him too?
I am not familiar with his other movies.
Okay, there you go. So I haven't seen a lot of Shyamalan, but I feel I've definitely been able to make my assumption that some of his movies are good, but some of them are not so great. The Last Airbender, I feel, is the lowest of the low with his films, and rightfully so, because
it's just movies in general.
That's true, because he does not understand the source material at all with that. Compared to the show, it's dog shit. And that's kind of being kind, honestly.
Yep.
But overall, I feel this is it's an enjoyable Shyamalan movie, and like I was reading to Caleb with the critic consensus for audience consensus on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie. They said love him or hate him, Shyamalan was kind of like the only one that could make this movie work in the way that it did, and in a way you really can't argue with them on that. That is an absolute fair enough thing to say. So honestly, so far for the little Shyamalan movies that I've seen, this is probably my favorite one of his. I think I actually enjoyed this more than Split, just for the idea alone. So I'm gonna go with 73.
Nice. Yeah, I think that the idea of this movie was a lot better than the execution. If you want to talk about the story like all day long, like I am so down. Once we start getting into like the little nitpicks, I'm probably gonna just kind of like die off on my conversation because it's like it was just like as the scores reflect, they're average. Like there's nothing too special about them or just this movie in general. I just think that the idea behind this was really strong and really solid. But I had an interesting enough time with this movie. I might have liked it a little bit more than you did, so I'm sitting at a 78.
Okay. Nice.
Just shy of being like what I consider like an average movie, which I think is like typically for me at an 80.
Yeah, okay.
That's like one where I'm like, okay, I didn't love it, didn't hate it. But I always give it a little bit more bonus points for ones that, at least for like typical movies where I'm like, oh, that was just like a bare bone 80. Like that's usually my flat line, and then like I adjust from there.
Okay. All right. I like it.
But yeah, so sitting at a 78, which averages us out to a 75.5.
It's not bad.
Yeah. So that concludes this breakdown. So the final Allbros letter grade for Old has come to a C+.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not bad at
I
all.
like it. Yeah, I like it.
Let's see where it's sitting at, like in comparison to all of our others. Maybe if I can freaking find it. All right, so Old is sitting at a 77.87%, which puts it above The Babysitter Killer Queen, Wonder Woman 1984.
That kind of like kills saying that, but I can't argue that.
Yeah, right. It also puts it above Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Okay, that one kind of kills.
Yeah. It's also above Aquaman and The Strangers Pray at Night.
Yeah, Strangers, that's fair.
Yeah. But it puts it below Tag. Also puts it below Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Jumanji, The Next Level.
Okay.
Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. And Godzilla vs. Kong.
All right. So it has a good placement.
Yeah, I think it has a really good placement. Out of all of our C+ movies, which we have 22 of, it is sitting at 14.
It's not bad. I actually thought we had more.
Yeah, I thought we did too. But total movies, out of 150 movies, it is sitting at 114.
Okay. It's so cool that we've reached 150 movies.
Yeah,
with
right?
this system. That's so cool.
Hell yeah. So, I think it has a pretty decent home. I think a C+ is more than fair.
Yeah, no, I honestly agree. If like I said, if you're a fan of Shyamalan, definitely check it out. It's not his worst movie. It's definitely not his worst movie.
Yeah. I would dare say it's one of his better that I've seen.
I honestly would, like, honestly, I think so far, it's my favorite one that I've seen. Like, nothing against Split. I didn't love Split as much as I feel everybody else did.
Ooh, I actually forgot about Split. That one actually might be my favorite.
See, that's completely fair. So I didn't love Split as much as everybody else did, so this is probably my favorite one so far that I've seen. But I can completely understand if Split is yours.
Hell yeah.
So I'd say that concludes our breakdown of Old, unless there's anything you want to add.
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, if you guys liked what you hear and you want to hear more, be sure to follow and subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. We are damn near everywhere. Even after we switched to Podbean, we are still damn near everywhere. You can catch also all of our episodes on YouTube if you would prefer to listen there instead of Spotify, Google Podcasts, all of those other places. So if you prefer to listen there, that is where you can find us. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us at facebook.com/The Allbros, Twitter and Instagram at The Allbros. And if you would prefer to email us, you can email us at theallbroschannel@gmail.com. And at all four of those places, you can send us a message if you have a question for us, want to give us an idea for an episode, or answer our questions of the week. If you want to check out our website, you can check it out at tinyurl.com/The Allbros, where you can get to know a little more about us too, and our broship. And also there is the best place to buy merch, because that is the one place where we can actually make it to where you can get the actual design that you want that hasn't been taken down by a studio just yet. So guys can go over there, fill out the form of what you want, and we can get that made for you. But if you would prefer to go to actual like TeePublic or Teespring, you can go there. I don't know the actual.
I don't think we have anything on Teespring anymore.
It's just
TeePublic.
Okay, sorry. So it's just TeePublic now. My bad. So if you want to go to just strictly TeePublic, it is teepublic.com/user/The Allbros channel. So yeah. Next episode or next week, we'll be breaking down the newest MCU movie, Eternals. So that's going to be freaking awesome. Can't wait to freaking see that and see if we agree with what the critics are saying right now. Because as it stands, recording this episode, it is the lowest rated MCU movie. Which is so crazy to think about.
I am pretty sure that we are going to very much disagree with the critics on that one.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. But yeah, you guys can look forward to that next week. But until then, this has been the All Bros Podcast. I am Jonathan.
Nah, I'm Caleb.
And
you might want to try that again.
sorry. Deuces.
So long.
There we go.